So this is my second video on the GrindKing Lockers. I want to show you guys close up so you understand what I'm talking about. There's 3 holes here, right? So you can move this truck forward or backwards. So I've got it moved all the way back. So I've got a really long nose, and this is moving the wheelbase in that way, right? So I've also got the back truck moved all the way back. So the wheelbase is still 15 inches like it was in the last video I did about the GrindKings. So the tail is curving up right here where the back of the truck hits. This is already kind of a flatter tail, so you get a really quick pop, a really quick responsive feel. One of the reasons why my skateboarding is so much better in this video than it was in the last video is because in the last video I was getting a lot of ghost pop. In this video I have much quicker pop because of how I moved the wheelbase back. Not only can you move both trucks in or both trucks out, but you can move both trucks back or both trucks forward. So you can keep the same wheelbase, but you can move where the wheels actually sit on the deck. This really helped me. Now let me talk about this bushing. So the bushings that I took out look like this. This is what the truck looked like before I took them out. And this is what the truck looks like now. I took those out on both trucks. So I left the top bushing, I took out the middle bushing, and I left the bottom bushing. There's 3 bushings on each truck. This is going to affect the way the truck turns. They haven't talked to me very much about this, but from my experience, when I took that bushing out, it had a sharper turn. So here's one negative thing. In cold weather, when you're outside, the bushings are pretty stiff. I had a hard time turning outside in cold weather because the bushings just get hard when it's cold outside. I mostly skated an indoor skate park where it wasn't as cold and the turning felt great indoors. All bushings kind of get harder when you're outside in the cold. A lot of the skaters that tested these out didn't have that problem because they're in Los Angeles and it's 75 degrees outside. So I've been skating these for a few weeks since I got them. This has been mainly what I skated. I skated slappies for one day to kind of compare. So you can see the wear. I've had a lot of people skating these. You can see there's a little more wear over here on this side. So in my opinion, this is the best way to set them up. I like to move them all the way back and then take out that middle bushing. So another thing about taking out the middle bushing is you can't get wheel bite because see how short that top bushing is? It pinches before it gets to the deck. Now, I know this deck has wheel bite on it, but I've skated this deck with several different trucks, and I skated this deck with these trucks when they had both bushings. I think I could get wheel bite a little bit with both bushings. So do you guys have any questions? Do you understand what I'm saying about adjusting the bushings and adjusting the wheelbase? So I wanted to be very clear and very transparent about how they turn. So I'm just going to show you guys some close-up shots of how they turn in this video. Here's a clip of me taking the middle bushing out to show you how to do that. You keep the top bushing and the bottom bushing. There's the ones that I took out. So there's 3 bushings in each truck. But once you take out the middle one, you can't really put it back together without taking the whole board apart. This is an example of how you can't really get wheel bite because the truck starts to pop up. They'd be really good for slappies because you could just lift right up onto the ledge. But I did actually get the truck back together without taking the whole truck off the board, but I had to use some special tools and stick them in there to hold that nut in the right place to get it on. So here they are next to some indies, but these are actually indie mids, so they were definitely taller than the indie mids. I've heard they're about the same height as regular indies. It's hard to tell in this video, but they are actually a little bit taller than the indie mids. Definitely. You can see where that axle hits is a little higher, even though where the hanger hits is about the same. All right, look carefully at this turn. I feel like it feels like ventures to me. Look at that lift. They're loose enough to turn there, but they still have that lift. Now here I loosen them all the way, as loose as they could go. And you can see they do kind of dip when they're loosened all the way. So if I were to compare these to Slappies, which I did, I rode them side by side. I think at the indoor park, I prefer the security and lock-in of the lockers. But at the outdoor park, and especially in the cold, I prefer the Slappies because I like the turn on the Slappies a little bit more, for sure. So the bushings on the GrindKings, when I was skating outside in the cold, they really hardened up. I couldn't get much turn. But with the Slappies, I still kind of had that same turn. So I definitely prefer the dippiness and the turniness of the Slappies, which they turn a little bit more. A little more like squirrely truck for the outdoor park. But the indoor park, sometimes a squirrely truck in a smaller space, a more contained space, and a slicker surface can be a little bit harder to ride. And I really do like how they lock in on the coping. I felt more secure on the coping than I have for a while. I don't really have any broken in trucks that are really worn out, that have really made my own grooves right now. So I really did like how locked in I felt on the ramps. I felt more comfortable skating the indoor park than I have in any of the other videos lately. Did a few things that I've never done there before, for sure. This guy with the heroin board was pretty good. Like that little blunt up to rock and roll, I've never done that there before. I haven't done those in a while, the back big spins. But I just felt locked in. I felt secure. I felt safe enough to try tricks that I haven't done in a while. I felt like I had a lot of control, and the trucks were really responsive. That's not just me saying that. A lot of people that I let ride the trucks told me that they felt like they were very responsive. That's a common response I got. So I brought these to the indoor park at least 5 different days. I was there all day, skating with all the different people that came there. And I was at the outdoor park at least 4 times, the big 40,000 square foot outdoor park. And then I went to a few other parks, Georgetown, Lawrenceburg, a few other spots, and in the street a little bit. And I let a lot of different people try these out everywhere I went. Basically, everyone who came to the park, I at least mentioned them and asked if they'd like to try them out. Most everybody I came in contact with at least got on the board and rode around a little bit. You know, there's going to be a few people who think they're too cool to ride something different, but most people are going to ride it if you give them the chance, especially if it's something new that they haven't seen before. So I watched Dan Corrigan's video about these, and he really seemed to like them. He liked the way they locked in, the way they turned, and he was comparing them to Thunders. He felt like they turned kind of in between Thunder and Indy. You can watch his video for that information. I don't think they turn in between Thunder and Indy. I think they turn more like Thunder than Indy, in my opinion. Maybe if you take that middle bushing out, then they do turn in between Thunder and Indy. But I don't think that's what Dan Corrigan did. He was skating them stock. It's really hard to tell unless you have the exact same deck, exact same wheelbase, and you've got all the trucks lined up and you're stepping on one after the other and directly comparing them. When you're just comparing it to your muscle memory, you can be a little bit off. But they perform well, you know, like any skate truck these days. I can skate any truck. Trucks don't feel that much different. There's going to be some people who are really OCD and they can really tell the difference. And I think the negative reviews will come out when people who actually paid for the truck start getting their trucks because of the price. You know, $85, $90, that's expensive for a truck. So I think that will be like the main negative thing people say about it. Also, maybe the shipping time. I've had some people commenting on my videos saying, when am I going to get these? I haven't got them yet. I think they're shipping out in February. That's what I've heard. I don't know where I even heard that, but somebody told me that. At the indoor park, they turn a lot better than the Disruptors or any of the old GrindKings. But when I got outside and it was really cold, those bushings kind of froze up and I didn't get as much turn. But I experimented with it a little bit and kind of got it working. So with all the bushings in it out in the cold, they were super hard. Maybe you could get like a softer bushing for it. I don't know if you could actually switch them out. So the bushings are shorter and there's this metal piece in the center of the bushings to stabilize it, make sure it doesn't loosen up on its own like inverted kingpins do sometimes. I think you could get a regular bushing in there though. So I used the middle bushing and the bottom bushing and took the top bushing off outdoors, and that had a good turn because those bushings are a little softer. The top bushing, the black one, is a little bit harder. So that one, when I was using that outside, it did kind of feel reminiscent of the Disruptors, kind of like you were standing on a 2x4 and you couldn't turn as much. But when it's warmer, I'm sure it'll feel great. In the indoor park, I actually preferred the way they turned, like compared to anything I've skated at that park, because maybe it wasn't quite as cold. So I guess it just depends on you. Everybody's different on the temperature, what kind of park you're skating. But you really just have to try them out yourself because everybody's going to have a different opinion. Just because I like skating them and I feel safe skating them, that doesn't mean you're going to like skating them. Everybody has a different opinion on trucks. So you can get other bushings on these trucks, but I don't think you'd want to because there's this metal piece that comes through the middle of the bottom bushing. It stabilizes everything. You can't really put a washer on it, and then the bushing is kind of shaped to fit into the base plate. So you could like jerry rig some other bushings to fit in this, but it might be a lot of work and it's probably going to be worse. The bushings that come with it are pretty good. I would just kind of stick with them. I don't know if he's going to make more replacement kingpins and replacement bushings. Like I wouldn't count on it coming out like right away, but I'm sure eventually down the line there'll be stuff like that to buy. You could put another kingpin or another bushing in there. There's plenty of room to put other kingpins in there, like any inverted kingpin. You could do it. So here's the thing. I only know what an 825 does. A bigger size, like an 875, might get wheel bite. Dan Corrigan had the 8.5. I think everybody else that reviewed them had 825s. So yeah, a larger size may be prone to wheel bite. So this is a review on the 825 version of this truck. Here's the thing. They're 825s, but they don't feel like 825s. They're probably my favorite 825 truck I've ever skated because they felt normal. I usually don't feel comfortable skating a mini ramp with a small truck and a big board, but with these, they felt comfortable. They felt locked in like I do with a bigger truck or a bigger wheel. I feel like I could get away with a smaller wheel and still be locked in with these trucks. Usually with trucks, if I have a smaller wheel, I fall right out of grinds. I was skating with a bunch of guys from Evansville, where Chris Hyatt's from. They actually grew up with him, skating with him during the making of this video. So if I get more questions on here, I may have to make a third video about these trucks. Maybe I'll make some Instagram shorts just showing close-ups and details. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of content, scroll through my channel, check out my other videos, and hit that subscribe button because I got a lot more videos to come. Thanks for watching.